Pedro, the band led by AYUNI D, formerly of BiSH. But it's not just AYUNI D. This is a really cool lineup of a band, and it's been going for a while. We're checking out the new song 1999 that's just come out now. I didn't know this was coming out, but it just suddenly popped up on my notifications. It's like, hey, you're subscribed to Pedro. They got a new music video. So I am excited to check this out. But before we get into it, I want to give a bit of a backstory first of all, because this is an interesting one. And I've got a lot of interesting expectations leading into this. Now, you might have noticed if you are subscribed to this channel that I had only a couple of hours before this released a reaction to Momoko Gumi Company's new single. And obviously she's another former BiSH member. And then a few days before that, I did a reaction to AYUNI D's Letter single, another former BiSH member. And, you know, I had been a big fan of BiSH when they existed. First found them back in January of 2019 through doing this channel, and so I've been following for years, and I loved the variation in their songs, the wild sort of crazy different things they could do, from ballads to big bombastic songs, punk down to mid-tempo, all this kind of stuff. But I also was always really impressed by how, you know, a lot of idol and all idol groups, they try to give each member their own individual look or, you know, a color or something. But in BiSH, each member really felt like they had their own singing style, their own visual style, their own personality. It really felt like a collection of women who brought their own thing. So when the group went their separate ways and they, you know, it all ended, it was interesting to see the ones who did continue with music. Yeah, most of it felt like a natural progression. AYUNI already had a solo career and she continued that, and she was very much AYUNI. And Momoko carried on very much in the vein of the personality that we would expect. And Pedro had been going before, obviously, the ending of BiSH. But it was interesting that as AYUNI lent into doing Pedro more, I feel like the music has... I feel almost like she's got this freedom and maybe a growing maturity and a growing independence, that the music's become more and more wild and unique and interesting. And Pedro definitely feels to me like a band who, despite having been around for a while and despite having a very well established lead singer, they feel like they're kind of arriving now. Do you know, it feels like they're on an up now. It feels like they're making an impression now that is... Yeah, I'm really feeling it. And a lot of this to me comes down to Pedro, to AYUNI feeling like she's kind of more falling into her own. Now, interestingly enough, a comparison that I've heard several times before is a comparison between AYUNI D and ANO, A-N-O, ANO. And, you know, that's a comparison where I felt at first that maybe people were just doing the comparison because they both have similarly high register voices. They both have similar haircuts. And, you know, they both like to wear jeans and t-shirt. I thought maybe that's why the comparison's coming about. But actually, there is a certain degree of similarity that I do think is relevant to bring up, because, of course, one of the things I like about ANO is, as well as her solo career, she also had this side band, Eyes, which... The more I think about it, Eyes and Pedro, I feel a similarity. They were both about releasing sort of pent-up feelings and a little bit of rage, but with a sense of humor. And they both have this sort of real, raw vibe to them that can only really be delivered when you've got a singer whose voice has this sort of nimble, expressive power that AYUNI D has and that ANO has. Both very different singers, I should point out, but both of them have that spark of just ability to put raw emotion out. And that's kind of what I'm hoping for from more Pedro. So I decided, I've been listening to a lot of their music and not necessarily doing it as part of the reaction channel, just because I know it doesn't really get that big numbers. You know, Pedro's popular in Japan, but not so much overseas attention for it. But I figured, you know, it's one of those bands. I enjoy it. I'm really liking where they've been going recently. So I'm going to start doing a couple of reactions. Hopefully you guys will enjoy it. Anyway, there's a little bit of backstory to let you know where I stand with the whole Pedro thing. Let's jump in. The song's called 1999. This is a brand new music video. I'm pretty sure I've never heard this song before. I think this is the first time we're hearing the song. Apologies if it was already released on an album. I hadn't heard it. But let's dive in, see what the music video is about as well. Let's go. Is that Hibia Cohen? Is that Pro Tools? Oh, that's funky. Oh yeah, here they're going. I like that little bit of rhythmic stomp and bouncy vocals there. Oh, that's nice. This is what happens when you got a solid lead guitarist. That's a really lovely catchy chorus, but I love the way I love the way it just rolls into the second verse so effortlessly. That is a really cool pre-chorus. Loving that guitar counter melody there. Rigid place of the second chorus, I love it. I am really. This is great. This is really great. That arrangement is so good. Ooh. I thought it was going to be a really predictable ending and then they throw this bit on the end. Okay, that was freaking brilliant. This is going to be like a fighter for being one of my favorite Pedro songs straight up. That was really cool. All right, let me address a couple of things because it might sound like I'm overhyping something which is a simple pop rock song, but this did so much really right. And again, I often said this, as much as I like really complicated music and things where there's all these sort of beautiful intricacies on display, the person I am who prefers songwriting over anything else, songwriting is the primary art form. I love when a song is able to effortlessly make it feel like it's doing something super simple, but is actually got some really clever ideas happening that you could just completely miss if you weren't paying attention to. All right, first things first. Structurally, most of what's happening in this song is very simple, sort of 3 or 4 chord movements. You know, nothing particularly complicated going on with the chord structure of the song. That's all pretty simple. But the way it layers it up, first of all, we come in immediately with that verse, which is just kind of funky and bouncy. And you've got like a stomping bass, you know, Ayuni's just sort of like boom, 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 boom. Yeah, just very sort of like, yeah, very much like just giving you sort of like the accentation at the beginning of the bar so you can bounce your head and tap your foot, and you just immediately, it's one of those songs that immediately makes you want to sort of bounce your head and start moving around. Love that. It's a great way to start off a song. Now over the verses, Ayuni's given this kind of nice bouncy style of rhythmic delivery where she's singing, but she's giving it kind of like that flair, that almost rhythmic, I don't want to say rap, but it's kind of moving into that territory where she's giving sort of rhythm where it almost feels like rap syllable placement. She's doing that superbly, and that immediately infuses even more funkiness over the verses. And then when we get into the pre-chorus, what I liked about the pre-chorus is that her vocals then become much more sparse, and it gives room for that really cool guitar counterline. And again, this is something that I think really good understated bands pull this off so well, is when the guitarist, rather than just sort of like being twiddling, just knows at the exact right moment, over the exact right chords, which few notes to just slowly sort of finger pick, which arpeggio to just slowly pick away at, that just sort of makes everything sound thick and lush and expands upon it. And that's what we get here. Now, whereabouts was the pre-chorus? That's the second verse. Wow, this song moves along at a hell of a pace. Who's the pre-chorus back here? That's it. I love that. It's like, na, 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 ba, ba, da, ba, ba, ba. But even the little guitar counter melody, it's funky. I mean, the reason why AYUNI can pull back her vocals there is she's just kind of singing along one simple line that you can remember and you can sing along with. And the guitar is kind of now doing the work that the vocal was doing before. It's kind of actually taking the lead there. And I love that because it kind of develops the arrangement in this beautiful way. It adds that nice little twist without this song having to take too much of a left turn. Just the song kind of like feels almost refreshed in the pre-chorus, but also because AYUNI's singing less because there's more space between her vocals, it also feels like it's building you up to when she's going to release whatever the vocal chorus line is. And when the chorus comes in, it's a pretty sort of vocal heavy one. See, she's speeding up her vocals, more vocals, and then chorus. It's a chorus with a lot of words in it, so it really feels like from the beginning of the pre-chorus where she's barely singing at all, just a couple of words, and then a few more words, and a few more words, and it speeds up, and then we get into this chorus where it's very heavily vocal led. I like that, but my main thing that I really enjoyed about this, super simple technique, we do not see this enough. So your brain is set into thinking verse, pre-chorus, chorus. Okay, so next we're going to have verse, pre-chorus, chorus, right? No, we get verse, pre-chorus, and I love this technique. Just as the second chorus is about to come in, you switch to a bridge instead. Now, the whole point of a bridge is it's supposed to be in a normal song arrangement, in a contemporary song arrangement. It's supposed to be that thing that after you've heard the verse and the chorus a couple of times and you're starting to feel settled in, it's the thing that now takes you in a different direction and builds you up and sort of gives you that extra launch towards the last chorus that makes the last chorus special, that reframes everything, that reinvigorates the song and adds an extra creative layer on top of everything you've heard before. That's what a bridge normally does. But by putting it in where the second chorus should appear, it actually builds up the tension of the second chorus. So we're expecting we come into the second chorus, but instead we get a bridge. It's like, so now there's even more tension. It's like we're still waiting for the chorus being the payoff, being the bit that your brain secretly wants the song to come back round to, because that's the bit where you go, and everything's okay again. Yeah, this is kind of like just normal song structuring, but I love the fact that we're taken in a different direction. So instead of like being in the chorus here, we're like, oh, what's happening? Okay, building up attention. And it just builds up for that beautifully. We get a little bit of a guitar solo, and it just means that when the second chorus comes around, we only need 2 choruses in the song because that second chorus feels so big and grand and built up to and earned that, yeah, I love it. And, the net result of having a song that has such an interesting, cool arrangement, makes such good use of its time, doesn't overdo any particular section repeating itself too much, is that you end up with a song that only has 2 choruses, is just over 3 minutes long, and yet builds up a huge amount of emotion, carries a huge amount of charge, and makes you feel really rewarded at the end. It has a superb crescendo, has a superb ending, superb payoff. You come out of it feeling energized, refreshed, and like you've heard something that had depth, emotion, power, energy. Yeah, this is how you do a song with a simple band lineup, no tricks, nothing, just here's a simple band. We're going to make you feel something, and we're going to make you have fun, and we're going to do it in an interesting way. And again, I love a really interesting chord pattern. The chord pattern in this is not particularly interesting. It's pretty simple. It's just everything about the song's pretty simple, but it's super well constructed, and the end result is brilliant, and that is why Pedro, I like you. I like you, Pedro. We should do this again sometime, Pedro. Someone just put it up to 750. I got 749 and someone else got 750. I don't know why I care so much about that round number, but I do. Pedro, you may be sensitive, but I think you did a great job. All right, there you go. As always, get in the comments. Tell me what you think. I am going to go and listen to this immediately again. I enjoyed this a lot. Tell me what you think, and until I hopefully see you very soon in Japan for the next one of these. For now, ciao, ciao.